Great companies in the construction industry create exponential growth by making incremental gains over time and standardizing those things, turning them into processes, and then folding those on top of each other so that they can create an amazing company at scale. This is true for operations just as much as it is for marketing. So I wanted to talk about marketing growth and what documentation might look at different stages. I put it into 4 categories where you just have you're the only person in the company. Then you have maybe the core team, like you hire a controller and a project manager, and then you have your first marketing hire, and then you hire an entire marketing team. So the things that you want to worry about at those stages are very different. So when it's just you, hopefully what you did is you saved all the logins to all the accounts and you owned all the accounts. Like you own your Google Analytics, you own your Google Ads, you own the website hosting. Because you like at this point you can hardly afford a decent agency. So you'll probably had like friends do it, people you know. You don't have time to sit down and search for an agency, get on sales calls. So it's very common for you to not have ownership of these things, and it can really mess you up on the next phase. So here's where you bring in an actual real agency, and this is a really common point for people to lose the keys to their castle. Agencies will very frequently retain ownership of things like your Google Analytics, your Google Ads, all your ads accounts. So you really want to have those in-house and have the agency come in and you grant them access. It's annoying because you have to figure out how to do that. Nobody's going to like it. You aren't going to like it. Agencies that don't want to do it don't like it because it messes up their processes, but so important because it just gives your company so much more enterprise value. You also want to retain ownership of the brand files. At this point, the agency is going to need to do some graphic design for you. You need a logo, you need good colors, you need good fonts. So all this will be written on a document. How to use it will be written on a document. So if you retain those, make sure they're in your drive. If someday the agency isn't growing as fast as you can own all that stuff and onboard the next agency or the next people so much more quickly. You can also work with other people while you're working with this agency. So if when you started, you already had ownership of this stuff, it makes this phase a lot easier. Over time, you will, start to take on more things in-house. Maybe you get a admin person and they start getting photos to send to the agency. Just make sure that you're keeping the assets, you keep the good photography and the videography, you keep the good video files that they're getting for you because you're paying for them. And that sets you up great for when you're able to take on one full-time marketer person or maybe a couple people on your team. This could be a significant part of their role, like the salesperson or something. And the way I think about this is like the bare minimum. If you're at $5 million in revenue and you want to grow quickly, so you're spending 20% of your gross profit margin on marketing. So that would be $200,000. So you have $200,000. You don't want to spend $80,000 on a marketing manager. $50,000 would be 20% of that entire marketing spend. That's still a lot. Maybe you would want to do this more around like $8 million in revenue, but you could probably get that person, especially if they're really hungry, capable, and want to grow with your company. That can be really valuable for the next few years because they can be building a Rolodex of freelancers, of agencies they like to work with. They can be building out your processes. They can be organizing all of your brand assets like your videos, photos, logos, how to use your logos, and just refining the whole system. And also, most importantly, at this phase, this is kind of where I feel like, and this is just the story that I'm going through because it helps me talk about this, but I would imagine a lot of companies at this phase get to a ceiling And you have to like pick one of several directions, because a lot of the markets in the US, when you get to this certain like 20 employee size, you start capping out the scalability in that market. There's a lot of competitors and it just becomes a lot harder to grow. So you can either go up market to selling more premium, you can start doing production, you can start going into new markets with your existing offerings, or you could do commercial, and that's a lot depending on your market. I mean, there's some massive cities, so that makes it easier probably to grow past that point. It could make it more likely for you to go into commercial if you're in a city, high density urban areas. Maybe you go into like prefab or something. I don't know. My point is that there's a lot of factors that come into play in that decision, and that really changes the specific marketing strategies that you want your in-house marketing person to be documenting the lessons from and focusing on. Like if you're going premium, you want them to be focusing on the brand, on the storytelling. If you're going just trying to expand into new markets, you want them to be focusing on that main acquisition channel. What acquisition channel works as you expand into that first market, and really tracking those metrics and making sure you know what success looks like and what failure looks like when you run your first expansion experiments. Overall, this is a really cool phase of companies. I love this phase of companies. It's very exciting. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of growth. It's when you have to change fundamentally how you interact with the business as an owner. There's so much cool stuff in this phase. And if you're documenting and retaining ownership of everything, documenting the lessons, then you can build a really awesome machine when you have a full team. So you're past 20 people, maybe you're going past 50 people in your company. You have the budget to bring more people in-house. You definitely want a senior leader who has been where you're trying to go. You can work with some of the best agencies in the space. You can start using really advanced marketing tactics, automations, and hopefully you have everyone on your team still obsessed with documentation, because AI thrives on documentation. And in the next, 3, 5, 7 years, AI is going to be more and more capable. So the more you have documented, the more your people can focus on strategy, on high-level thinking, on scaling your company with integrity, as opposed to just pushing buttons. So I hope that you appreciated this video and that it can help you grow and scale a better business. Thanks for watching.